Thanks for joining us and welcome once again to Service Matters. It's a weekly radio show that talks about the good things that happen in local communities and beyond. We also talk about those good things that people do. It could be individuals, it could be committees, it could be organizations in the town or city, and how important that is. And in some cases, it could make dreams real for many folks out there in need. You're listening to WPRO, the voice of Southern New England. We are indeed a station that likes to reach out. And I know that sometimes many people out there feel that the world's gotten a little crazy. Well, here on this particular show, Service Matters, we like to talk about those good things. Something interesting today, we not only have a listening audience, folks, but we also have a viewing audience. And a big thank you and a shout out to ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television, for covering this radio show. I'm not back in Providence. I say to our listening audience, I'm actually in Easton. It's spelled Easton in Massachusetts, and I'm at the ECAT studio on Oliver Street. And we have a show today where we're going to be talking about some good things and a giant celebration that will be taking place in 2025. Folks, it sounds like a long ways off, but it goes fast when you're involved in the planning and certainly preparing. My co-host, Val Perry, is out doing some good things in the community today, so we give her a pass. But we have two terrific guests that will be joining us, and I think you'll find that out as we go through this interview. But the town of Easton, Massachusetts, is celebrating their 300th anniversary. And there's a lot of planning going on that's going to hopefully bring the community together to celebrate the history of the town of Easton, Massachusetts. So I'm happy. I'm Dave Clifton, happy to be here in the town. And I say to all the folks out there in our listening area, whether you be from Connecticut, Massachusetts, or the entire state of Rhode Island, we are looking forward to giving you an example of what's going on in a town like Easton that has about 25,000 people in population. They were incorporated back in 1725, and the co-chair is someone who's got lots of energy. Michelle McGee is her name. I don't have to ask her who the co-chair is because, folks, that happens to be me. And with her today is a gentleman who's been around town for a long time. They call him Edmund Han. We call him Ed. And Ed is a long-time Easton resident and has stepped up to the plate to once again, as he's done with other committees in town, to join in and give us 150%, and we really appreciate that. Michelle, I'm going to talk to you first. I'd like to welcome both of you to the ECAT studio as we televise a radio show that is played every Friday from 5 to 6 p.m., I should say Saturday, from 5 to 6 p.m. We hope that you'll join us, folks. A big shout out and thank you to Brett Ferruccio, our producer back at the studio in Providence. And we also thank Adam Carrero for doing what has to be done here at the ECAT studio. Michelle, welcome. Tell us about some of the plans and tell us who the 10-member committee is appointed by the select board here in the town of Easton.
Thanks so much, Dave. I am the co-chair, and as Dave said, he is my co-chair. So we have two co-chairs of the committee, myself, Michelle McGee, and David Clifton, and our vice chair is here with us today as well, Edmund Hans. There were 10 of us that were appointed by the select board back in the fall, and those members all have some roles in our committee now since we've been meeting for about 6 months. Our treasurer is Jeanette Camara, and she is an employee of the Bank of Easton, an original Easton resident. She grew up here in Easton. Our secretary is Molly Amintangelo, and she has lived in Easton under a year. One of the greatest things I think about our 10-person committee is that we have probably the most diverse committee that I've been on. We have people who were born here and never left. We have people who were born here, left, and returned. We have people who have lived here for decades but aren't from here. And someone like Molly, who has recently moved to the town and is showing an interest in the town of Easton. It's great to have so many different backgrounds on the committee as far as whether or not you're from Easton. The thing I can say that runs through the committee is we all love Easton. And I think that that's probably the most important part of being on a committee is loving what you do. We also have Dale Carrister on our committee. He is been a longtime resident of Easton, and he is heading our community relations subcommittee. We have a fundraising and sponsorship committee that is being headed by Courtney Pupkin, who's also from Easton and has done some fundraising in Easton in the past. We have a young man named Michael Good, who is heading up our marketing communications subcommittee. He was raised here in Easton, lived in Boston for many years, and has recently returned with his wife and 2-year-old child and a baby born just a few weeks ago. So it's great to have him back.
Well, that was a good choice.
Yes, right, good, very good. Mike, good. And we also have Nora Youssef on our committee. Nora is from Easton as well. And her grandfather, who many people in Easton know, Avery Lee Williams, was a benefactor for the Tricentennial Fund. And she is on our committee. And we do have one select board representative, and that is Mark Lamb. He is obviously a select board member here in Easton. He also heads the Economic Development Committee, and he is our select board representative. So those are the 10 people from Easton who are on the committee currently and their current roles. Oh, actually, at our last meeting, Ed was voted in as our events subcommittee chair. So,
well, he wears a few hats. And Ed, before I ask you a question, I did want to mention, folks, if you want to hear us, we're on AM 630 or FM 99.7. And if we're happy that they're televising this because it's going to be shared with other communities that surround the town of Easton. And Ed, I wanted to ask you, and I know you've been active with the Historical Society in the town, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the history of this community.
Well, the town of Easton was established as a town in 1725, which is late for Bristol County, but there was a border dispute between Massachusetts and Plymouth that made it difficult to settle up here because the land claims were in doubt. So after 1725, the town began to grow, mostly agricultural, but always there was an industrial component. There was bog iron and water power here. So very, very early, there were forges and foundries. And then in 1803, Oliver Ames came over from West Bridgewater and founded a shovel company. And by the end of the 19th century, we were producing 3 out of every 5 shovels in the world. So
wow.
Our nickname is Shovel Town, and we're very proud of that. Along with that, the Ames family donated buildings to the town, our first high school and our second high school, which has led to our school being called Oliver Ames in honor of Governor Oliver Ames, who donated the high school that's now an apartment building. And the story goes is that the governor didn't want the high school named after him. He wanted it named Easton High School, but he passed away while it was being built. And then when all the farmers here discovered that telling folks they went to Oliver Ames made it seem like they went to a private school, they've kept the name for the next 100 years. So,
Ed, I did want to ask you a question. I know that you were around during the 250th anniversary celebration and the 275th.
yes.
Maybe you could, and here you are. Have you been on all three committees then?
Yeah, I have actually. I was chairman of the Historical Commission back 50 years ago. And I was also the captain of our militia company at that time. So 50 years ago, our celebration committee was called the Dual Celebration Committee because the country was doing its 200th birthday. And there was a lot of call for Revolutionary War reenactments and things like that. And we also had Hazel Varela at the high school promoting her brand new local history class. So there was a lot of research going on among the high school students. So it was quite active at that time.
Interesting. I know that my experience, I used to live in Sharon, Mass. Before I moved to Easton. And I had the opportunity to co-chair the 250th anniversary. And I remember telling members of that committee that I won't be around for the 300th. And then I moved to Easton, and bingo, here I am, involved in Easton's 300th anniversary. I want to go back to you, if I may, Michelle. I know there's a lot of plans underway. And of course, there's a lot of things that are happening in terms of planning, fundraising, and marketing the celebration. And tell us about some of the special events that have been approved by the committee thus far.
Yes, thanks for asking, Dave. The committee has been meeting for about once a month for about 6 months, and we recently have made some decisions as to some of the directions that we're going in based on community involvement, listening to what people are interested in, and trying to foster a sense of community. It is going to be a year-long celebration. So we do plan to start on January 1st, 2025, and go right through till December 31st of 2025. One of the things that the committee has decided to do is have 4 or 5 signature events throughout the year. Those events we hope will happen somewhat seasonally, so that they'll be spread out nicely throughout the year in different kinds of weather and different kinds of activities. And we've decided that we will do one major event. Now, that signature event that we're talking about would be something that would include the entire town. So we're looking to involve seniors, children, people from all different parts of the town, things that would appeal to everyone. So the committee last week voted on 4 of those signature events. And what they decided on was there's an interest in having a townwide bonfire. And we are planning to do that as a opener to the year. So on January 1st, first day of 2025, we are planning a large bonfire, a fire event, as Ed likes to call it. And we will have some s'more stations and just a gathering on that hopefully brisk but sunny day and gather around the bonfire and start our year out that way. We have also made the decision that we will be having a townwide parade sometime for the tricentennial in that year. In the fall, we're hoping to have fireworks.
Michelle, I'm going to ask you to hold that thought.
Sure.
We'll come back and do that. We have to take a short break. You're listening to Service Matters here on WPRO, the voice of Southern New England. I'm Dave Clifton, happy to be here with 2 special guests from the town of Easton. Hurry back.
There's a storm.
Join me, Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, to explore the town of Easton and its interesting, engaging, ordinary, and extraordinary people, and meet a smorgasbord of guests, including artists, authors, musicians, business owners, community organizations, clergy, local leaders, etc., etc., etc. Community Forum, at 3 p.m. on Thursdays and 1:30 p.m. on Saturdays. See you then.
Hi, I'm Ron Van Dam. I've been in radio for 3 decades now and have been doing a daily podcast-style show for a few years. But once a week, I come to the ECAT studio where they give me wine and cheese, and I do a TV version of the podcast. I talk about what's going on in the world and in the area and give my opinions on things. And these adults are being slaughtered. Like every there's heads rolling all over the place and blood and guts. I mean, if that happened in your neighborhood, it would not be considered entertainment for the family. Wednesday, we're doing arms. Thursday, we're doing ears. And Friday is my physical workout dental day, where I work my teeth. I realize that I can never be the Pope like I wanted to be because apparently they don't interview for that. You just kind of become one. So tune in to see me move my mouth while I talk. Who knows? We might have something in common. Probably not, but you never know. I find that the consumption of alcoholic beverages makes this show that much better. Catch my show here, The Ron Van Dam Show, right here on ECAT.
Hold on tight, things can get a bit weird, if you like that sort of thing.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Here we go. My name is Harrison Young, and after 13 years of talk show experience, I seek to bring you the best in interviews with some of the very best guests around, including, and here we are, experts.
I've seen thousands of demons actually come out of the mirror one time.
Wow. Musical guests and artists.
If I say how I feel, would you really listen?
And interesting characters of all types.
I threw that kid across the classroom. Look, he didn't try that ever again.
Wow. Join me at Topic Time on your Easton cable station anytime they want to play it. And what I understand, that's quite a few times a day. And I love it.
Welcome back to another segment of Service Matters. Dave Clifton here along with 2 special guests, Michelle McGee and Ed Han. And of course, we've been talking about some signature events that will be held during the year 2025. So take your coats off, folks, and relax. We still have a while before this major signature event. You were talking about the fireworks, of course, in conjunction and with the fire chief here in the town of Easton. When I ask these questions, of course, I think I know the answer because I'm co-chairing, but I wanted to make sure that our listening audience knows what a community like Easton is doing as they plan and prepare for this major celebration. And I'm hopeful that folks out there in our listening and viewing audience might get some ideas. And we're going to talk a little later in this broadcast and cablecast about the need for volunteers and the need for donations to help make this happen. Go ahead, Michelle.
So continuing on with the signature events, we have voted on having fireworks. And I'm going to kind of just hand it over to Ed for a moment. We have had fireworks in this town, right, Ed?
Yes, about 100 years ago.
100. Do you remember them?
No, but 50 years ago we didn't have that. And we're hoping that this year we can have the fireworks in the location that it was 100 years ago.
And where was that?
That was over on Shovel Shop Pond. The widow of Governor Ames put on a 4th of July fireworks display and with fire boats also. So.
Oh, so nice fire celebration.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm really into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
And of
So
course, it would need the help and support of the fire chief, who is in favor of the fireworks. And once we establish the location, I think we're off and running. Go ahead, Michelle.
The final
signature events.
Yeah, the final signature event that we've voted on. But before I speak to that, let me just say that the committee has not completely voted on a town picnic. However, it is something that we are hoping to incorporate. We haven't quite decided where in the year that fits or if it fits with another signature event. But that is another very interesting, and the committee is very interested in having that town-wide picnic that includes everyone. The final event for the year in 2025 will be a gala. We are going to hold a end of the year gala as kind of a wrap up of the events that have happened throughout the year, but also as a thank you to the town and the donors and the people who have supported the Tricentennial throughout 2025. So those are the 4 signature events. There are lots of other events that are going to happen as well. We've had some very nice offers from the community for people who already run events in town to kind of open up their collaboration with us. So the Easton Lions Club has graciously, they have a holiday festival every year, and in December of 2024, they are going to partner with us as kind of a teaser to 2025. So although we will hit the ground running on January 1st, 2025, we're hard at work now, but the community can expect to start to see some events a little bit ahead of time as well.
And again, it's a year-round celebration. Hats off and a nice salute to the select board here in the town of Easton for appointing, I would say, 10 energetic folks who are planning and preparing. And Ed, you're the events chair. And one of the things that we have talked about as a committee is to try to include all the annual events that have taken place in the town of Easton to be part of this celebration so that we can develop a sense of community. Mm-hmm. And that's a magic word that I know you are very familiar with.
Yeah, community has been one of the things I've been pushing for the last 50 years. The community has changed substantially in that time period, and we want to make everybody feel welcome and part of the group. Back in the day, more people than not worked at the shovel company and had that in common. Now, with people using Easton as sort of a bedroom community, and working in a million other places, it's sometimes hard to bring everybody together. So the more events we do that pull people in, the better it will be. We're starting actually this June 19th with our very, very first Juneteenth celebration down at the Civil War Memorial in Easton Center. And I think that will be a nice event. There are a number of events that the Lions Club runs besides the holiday festival. We have a fishing derby for young people, and obviously we'll continue to be doing that. And everybody is welcome if you're under 12.
A very, very active Lions Club in the town of Easton. And folks, if you get a chance and you're driving through southeastern Massachusetts, you might want to go through the town of Easton. They have a college, Stonehill College. They have a state park, Borderland State Park. And they got some terrific historic-looking buildings that you'll be amazed when you see them. So it's a nice little tour for you to make. And before we go back to Michelle to talk about the need for volunteers and the need for fundraising, I'd like to give a little shout-out to the Navigant Credit Union. They have 23 branches scattered throughout the Ocean State and Rhode Island. And when you talk about community service, you have to mention the word Navigant Credit Union, because I think in all 23 communities, they do what they can to help and support, from the Boy Scouts to parades to what have you. And we thank them so much. They have been the sponsor of this show, talking about good things on the year for the past 10 years. and we've been on the air for 12 years talking about good things. And I always remember that woman that called up. She didn't say much. She said, thank you for talking about good things. And thank you for pushing the red button because someone had bad things to say. Amen. And we thank her so much. I'd like to give a little pat on the back to a woman who she had difficulty when her son asked her for funds for going to college. She said, I'm sorry, son, I can't help you out. The good news, she won the lottery that night. So things happen for the best. Michelle is co-chair of the Tricentennial Committee in the town of Easton. I know you want to ask folks out there, especially if they live in the community of Easton. We're looking for volunteers, and we're looking for folks that would like to make a donation to the celebration. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dave. We are looking for volunteers on a number of different levels. Earlier, we talked about the 10 members of the Tricentennial Committee who have taken on wonderful roles that are much needed. But there are lots of other roles that we need filled as well. Even within these signature events, we do need a gala coordinator, and we need a fireworks coordinator, and we need a bonfire coordinator. So we are looking for people in the community to come forward with whatever their interests are. Even if there's something that we haven't mentioned, we will incorporate that into the celebration. The idea really is to meet people where they're at and perhaps introduce them to new things as well. So we're looking to work with organizations like the Lions or other organizations in town. The NRT has a harvest festival every year. We're looking to incorporate those already well-established events into our tricentennial year and work together in collaboration and create some new ones as well. And we do need a lot of people to get this done. We're also going to need general volunteers. That is something we'll probably be recruiting for in about a year for the year 2025.
Michelle, I hate to jump in, but again, we have to take another break. We're going to come back and talk more about volunteers. I'd like to thank the local Lions Club. Their motto is, we serve. And there are other organizations like Rotary. Their motto is service above self. We thank the Rotarians and members of the Lions Club for all the good things they do. We're going to take another short break. We have these important messages to listen to. Again, how important it is to find yourself by losing yourself in the service of helping others.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day at practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Hi, I'm Jen from Fantasy Crafts. Turn your average household items into fun for the whole family. Let your imagination run wild. It was my decision. You be quiet over there. Fantasy Crafts playing Monday at 3 p.m., Wednesday at 1 p.m., only at ECAT.
Here we go. My name is Harrison Young, and after 13 years of talk show experience, I seek to bring you the best in interviews with some of the very best guests around, including, and here we are, experts.
I've seen thousands of demons actually come out of the mirror one time.
Wow. Musical guests and artists.
If I say how I feel, would you really listen?
And interesting characters of all types.
I threw that kid across the classroom. Look, he didn't try that ever again.
Wow. Join me at Topic Time on your Easton cable station anytime they want to play it. And what I understand, that's quite a few times a day. And I love it.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
Podcast!
ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Welcome back to another segment of Service Matters. Yes, we like to talk about the good things that are happening out there in local communities, whether you be in Connecticut, Massachusetts, or the Ocean State in Rhode Island. And we're in Easton, Massachusetts this afternoon. I'm sorry I didn't have the chance to drive to Providence. I'm here at the ECAT studio. And they have graciously, Kim Pincus has agreed, along with Adam Carrero, to do a cable cast of a radio show. And we have another community that's actually asked us to do the same thing in another part of southern New England. We're talking with the co-chair of a tricentennial celebration coming up in 2025. We have Edward Hand, who joins us, and Michelle McGee. Michelle, you were talking about volunteers before we go back to Ed.
Yes. So we will be looking for all levels of volunteers, from youth to right on up. And we'll be looking for all kinds of different things. There really is going to be a way for everyone to be involved in some capacity. We are planning a logo contest. We are planning youth events, senior events, events that cross over different neighborhoods. One of before we go to Ed on this, one of the focuses of this year will be community. And Easton is well known for its neighborhoods, and Ed wrote a book on those neighborhoods. And one of the ideas is kind of bringing back the idea of knowing your next door neighbor and learning about the area that you live in. So I'm going to let Ed talk a little bit about those areas. But one of the exciting things we're going to be doing in those areas is we're planning to have block parties in each of those neighborhoods. But the idea is to get to know your neighbors, but the idea is also to leave your neighborhood and go to another neighborhood, attend that block party, attend that walking tour to learn more about your town. So Ed, how many?
You can have a beer at each stop that you make. Ed, tell us about that book.
Well, the book is from 1993, so it's a long time ago, but it highlights the fact that, like many Massachusetts towns, Easton was built around little neighborhoods that had a district school and a store. And in Easton, there were 7 traditional neighborhoods, and we're hoping to do a block party in each one of those, along with a walking tour, and make it a very special event for folks. I also want to say we are looking for volunteers at every level. My volunteer skill level for the Lions Club is on the holiday festival. I cook French fries, and at Junk Day I carry television sets. And so you don't have to have a PhD in volunteering in order to get involved in our program. We're looking for people that could judge an essay contest. We're looking for people that might be interested in doing a historical project. I'm going to be approaching the Historical Commission about a project where each of the neighborhoods could get involved, because every neighborhood has cemeteries, and we could get people out there helping with those kind of threatened facilities. So there's a lot that potentially could be going on. And the big events, obviously, you're going to need cleanup crews and ticket agents, et cetera, et cetera. So there's plenty of work. Get involved. As you pointed out, Dave, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in some volunteer work.
And that's why many people join these community service organizations. They want to give back to the town or city. And I always think of that woman who told her son no and struck it rich, and his dream came true. But volunteers, I think we all should find a way to do something to help your community out, the place where you live. And I think that's one of the things that we try to promote on this radio show, that service does matter. I mean, it's not just military service, it's everybody who does above and beyond the call of duty. I would like to remind people that we're as good as a committee of 10 people as the people we surround ourselves with. We're as good as the volunteers that we can recruit and bring together. And Michelle is a person who has lots of energy and spends her full time doing what she can to help this celebration happen. And folks, there are other communities out there that have had your own anniversary celebration. And I'm hoping at the end of this celebration that we can put a book together that will kind of outline what we did for the entire year in 2025. And that the community residents are going to want a copy of that. And we certainly want a copy of that at the radio station as well. Michelle, if people want to volunteer their time, let our listening and viewing audience know what our webpage is and how they can contact us.
Yes, thank you so much, Dave. We are launching our website shortly. It is going to be www.easton300.org.
Could you mention that again, just in case someone is driving over a bridge?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, not off a bridge, right? It is www.easton300.org, and that's the numbers 300. And our marketing communication chair is putting together that website right now with some IT help. And that is going to be the place where you're going to be able to find everything. There will be sections for history. There'll be sections for events, sections to volunteer, sections to donate. And one of the things that we're hoping to do is to have our planning so in place that on January 1st of 2024, we're hoping to have a section of that website that says, where will you be 1 year today? And you can go on that website any time during 2024, and you'll have a whole year's worth of preparation for where will you be on June 7th, 2025. And you'll be able to click and see that some of the events that will be happening.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I did want to mention to our listening and viewing audience that by the end of 2023, I hope that we as a committee will know what all the events are, where they're going to be held, who's chairing them, who the volunteers are, and what are the events going to cost the committee in terms of fundraising. I think that's important so that we can spend the year 2024, all the subcommittees planning and preparing all the events. And there will be a major schedule put together, Ed, that will show exactly what's happening that we can share.
That's right. We're working on calendars now. We have a calendar that shows some of the events that take place already in 2023, so that we know, for instance, that the Lions Club installation is the middle week in June. So we'll plug that in for 2024 and 2025. We're looking at the calendars for the 275th and 250th parades events to see when the parade occurred and when some of the other signature events occurred there. So it would help us schedule. Having a good calendar in place by 2024 so people will know where they're going to be in 2025 is going to be extremely helpful. So we're working hard on that.
And I want to thank you very much, Ed, for putting that together. It took a little bit of work. I should say, a lot of work to come up with all that information, and it'll be a good guide for us to use. Some additional comments, Michelle, that you would like to make as we plan and prepare for the year 2025. I'm going to ask you to wait on that as we take another break before we come back for the final segment of Service Matters. And again, we like to talk about the good things. We're sorry that folks cannot call us today because we're on tape delay. This show will be played on Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. And of course, it's a chance for the TV audience in the surrounding towns to listen to what Service Matters is all about. Folks, it's all good. We'll be right back.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of For the Love of Words. After a 3-year hiatus, join me, John Holgerson, and
Priscilla Almquist-Olsen,
as we interview poets and musicians. Could you give the audience a little summary of your background as a child?
When I turned 7 or so, we were car bombed. That stuck out.
And have them share their love of words.
Sometimes I wonder, do you ever think of me?
A thin broth of moonlight caught in the trees spreads across the garden brush, so one side of every stick shimmers while the other sides melt into one another, a mass grave of cherry, pear, and pine.
For the Love of Words at 7 p.m. on Thursdays.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired, Counseling Presents, a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day at practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
In 2023, Easton is a tight-knit community of 25,000 people. But with the hustle and bustle of modern life, it's easy to forget our past. A time when Easton's population was 6,000.
Everybody knew who everybody
everybody
was.
And there was respect.
There was respect for everyone.
When kids enjoyed great freedom and independence.
Everybody was poor at today's standards. But we all were in the same boat, and we enjoyed life.
So join me, Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, as I explore what makes Easton so very special with some of its lifetime residents.
I think Easton has so much to offer, and if you're living in a community, you have to know it.
Watch Growing Up in Easton Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Friday at 9 p.m. See you then.
Welcome back to the final segment of Service Matters. We got some heavy rains going on right now, folks. If you do hear it in the background, it's not people trying to break into the studio. I just want you to know that today we've been talking about a major celebration taking place in the town of Easton, Massachusetts. And of course, Easton is surrounded by Brockton, by Sharon. And of course, it's a community bedroom community that's not far from Providence, not far from heading towards Boston. But this celebration is going to be a year-round celebration. We hope that you folks out there are listening to plan and prepare and to look us up, because we're going to have quite a celebration. And one of the challenges that we have is we want to bring our community together. We want people, neighbors who maybe don't even know each other, to actually celebrate the history of the town of Easton. Michelle and Ed, you both have been terrific guests, and I know there's a lot more that we'd like to talk about. We could do 2 hours just on this subject, but I would like to ask you, Michelle, to make some final comments and maybe talk about some things that we may not have covered, and then I'll go to Ed as well.
Okay, thanks so much, Dave. I would want to repeat that if you would like to be involved in this celebration in any way, shape, or form, if you have a Girl Scout troop, or you own a business, or you just want to get involved with your family, to reach out to our website, www.easton300.org. Right now, you can also email us, as the website isn't up yet, at easton300@outlook.com. To get involved, our sponsorship and fundraising committee is hard at work at forming some sponsorship levels that will give some unique opportunities for businesses or donors or benefactors to be attached to one of those signature events or another event. Some unique advertising opportunities that we're looking into, and just ways to get involved. One of the things I would like to mention is we welcome anyone to our meetings, and we currently meet the 4th Tuesday of every month at the Queesit House from 6:30 to 7:45. So
I'd like to thank the Queesit House for hosting our meetings. What a beautiful place, and again, it's all part of the history of the town of Easton.
Yes, and we would, our next meeting will be on June 27th, which is the 4th Tuesday of the month. We'd also like to thank ECAT. They faithfully come out and record these meetings. So even if you can't make it, you can definitely go back and see the meeting and participate in that way. The other thing I'd like to say before I sign off is start looking for our logo. We are going to, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a logo contest, and this is going to be the face of the tricentennial celebration. We have already had many partners in our community offer to take that logo and use it. The DPW has agreed to put it on their trucks for that year. The Department of Health and Community Services has asked if they could put that logo on their t-shirts that entire year. So we are going to be looking for some talent to come forward and present some logo suggestions that are very tailored to Easton and very tailored to the 300th celebration of Easton. So that is going to be a big part of our celebration, is being able to recognize when something is related to the celebration, you're going to see that logo. So
terrific. Ed, some final comments, and thank you, by the way, for all of the service that you have provided in the town of Easton as a volunteer.
Well, it's been a pleasure to volunteer. It's a lot of fun. I want to remind people of something that you said. We're really halfway between Boston and Providence. So if you're in any of those communities, or even way down in Connecticut, we're not that far away. Watch the space. Come and see our events. We're a historic community with a lot of interesting restaurants and a lot of incredible historic houses. So please come by and see us.
We'd also like to remind folks out there, if you have a band or a drum and bugle corps and you're interested in being in the parade in Easton, Mass, go to the webpage and contact us. We certainly aren't that far away. And of course, we're excited about putting on a parade with a bunch of bands. I'd like to thank Michelle and Ed for being on the show today. You certainly have proved that service does matter, no doubt about it. And we'd like to encourage volunteers, or maybe you may not be interested in volunteering, but you'd like to sponsor something like an event, or maybe make a contribution to the celebration. We would welcome that with open arms. You know, as we get to the end of the show, I'd like to say that Louis Armstrong, with this song in the background, What a Wonderful World. And what a wonderful world it is because of volunteers like yourself, Michelle and Ed, and all the members of your 10-member board, and all the volunteers that will join that board to make this celebration happen. I'd like to say to you, go forth to serve, do it with a smile on your face. And if you're going to do something good to help someone out, certainly do it with the dignity that it deserves. A big thank you to ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. We certainly are forever grateful for you televising the show that we'd like to broadcast to all the folks in Southern New England. Have a terrific weekend. Look forward to next week's show as we close in on Father's Day. Have a terrific weekend.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.